Every time my mother, Eliza Richmond, would come to Toronto, one of the first things she would say is, Earl, put on that Temptation. No, she wouldn't say Temptation. Put on that Eddie Kendrick song talking about my baby, because it really had a sound. It was kind of bluesy, but it was a real, it has that gospel, that gospel thing to it. So she loved that song.
Mm.
And Mr. Larry Hamm from the People's Organization for Progress, Pop Goes. Pop, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, my brother. How are you?
Sam Cooke would say, wonderful. I'm good.
Yes, indeed.
I guess the most burning issue is that, we wanted to talk about Ras Baraka. Now, Ras Baraka is running for governor, and he's been the mayor of Newark since 1915?
2014.
2014.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's got a lot of respect from grassroots, as well as some of the most militant forces have given him props.
On Friday, he had met with some congressional representatives. Monica MacGyver, who is his congressional representative, the city of Newark is in her congressional district. Bonnie Watson Coleman, who's from Central South Jersey area. Both of them are Black, and Robert Menendez Jr., the current congressman from the Hudson County area, whose father, by the way, is the convicted Robert Menendez. And so they were visiting a place called Delaney Hall. I'm just coming from there. I was there this afternoon because demonstrations have been taking place there for some time now. And the Congress people and the mayor had showed up. They wanted to go and have a tour and do an inspection of Delaney Hall. And Ras Baraka had been present at that area, at that gate in front of Delaney. He'd been there for about an hour. And they were going in, and all of a sudden, these ICE agents, armed, guns out, seized the mayor and arrested him and took him into Delaney Hall. About an hour or so after being at Delaney Hall, they transferred him to another ICE facility in Newark on Freeland Heights and Avenue. This arrest, now Ras Baraka was not an unknown person. He was quite well known even as an elected official, known nationally. I mean, he was, his election, garnered him national attention. This is the largest city in the state of New Jersey. But I have to say that this arrest dominated the news cycle on Friday. I guess Trump must have gotten nervous or something, because Trump was no longer dominating the news cycle. And Baraka is still going. It's still like Washington Post, New York Times, Reuters, The Guardian. They're all writing about it. And he's doing all the talk shows on mainstream television. He has gotten so much attention in the last 48 hours that in today's Star Ledger, the Star Ledger is the paper of record of New Jersey, they actually have an article entitled, "Will Ras Baraka's arrest help get him elected governor?" That's how deep it is. No, and it sounds humorous, but it's very serious. I mean, he really has been catapulted, and it's not over now, because the racism and fascism get the best of it over intelligence. So instead of leaving it alone, now the Trump administration talking about they're going to try and arrest, they're considering arresting the 3 Congress people that were with Baraka. Now, let me tell you something, and you can interrupt me, Brother Norman, whenever, because I'll go on and on. But let me just say this real quick. Within 1 hour from the time that Ras Baraka was elected to the time, let's say within 2 hours, from the time he was elected at Delaney Hall to the time that he was transferred to Freeland Heights and Avenue, hundreds of people gathered at the Freeland Heights and Ice facility. Hundreds, like in just 2 hours, hundreds of people. Like they didn't even know. The press it wasn't even in the media where he was. What was in the media was that he was arrested at Delaney Hall. He was at Freeland Heights, but somehow hundreds of people were out there in front of the Freeland Heights and Avenue facility. And
Larry,
go ahead.
Before you go to Delaney Hall, don't tell me it was named after Martin R. Delaney.
No. Not Harvey. No.
Martin Delaney was the first black man. Yeah.
Right. Delaney Hall was the juvenile detention center for the county.
Okay, all right.
Right across from Delaney Hall is the county jail on Doremus Avenue in Newark. And, just to try to paint a picture in people's mind, these jails are in the industrial wasteland of Newark. Like, I don't know if people know, like, the New Jersey Turnpike, but if you've ever ridden down the New Jersey Turnpike and you go through this industrial area where you see these giant oil storage facilities and you smell that pollution in there, that's where the county jails are. Away from any community, away from any human contact. And Delaney Hall had been the juvenile facility, but it was bought out by the GEO group and is now a private prison. And ICE is using it as a detention facility. They have about 50 people in there now. So just to make a long story short, Ras's, Amiri Baraka's arrest triggered, a wave of action across the state. The governor got involved. The state attorney general got involved. They were able to get the judge to do the arraignment, because had the arraignment not been done, he would have had to stay in jail all weekend. And they finally got him out. I would say he came out around 7:45, 8 o'clock, like just before dark last night, because literally while he was giving his speech when he came out, it was just starting to get dark. So he's out now. He's been on all the major television shows. It's really something to see, and I am certain when they do the next poll for the Democratic gubernatorial candidates, you're going to see a shift in the ranking as the first, second, third. I can't predict that Ras will be first, but wherever he was, he's not going to be where he was. He's going to be in a higher spot, because you can't get this kind of publicity for just cause. A lot of people agree with the cause. Of course, a lot of Republicans don't, and some other people too. But I give you an example. I was down because the immigrants' rights groups, Make the Road New Jersey and others, have been holding a daily vigil at Delaney Hall. So I went down there today. Now, in that very isolated industrial hinterland where there are no residential areas, when the cars were driving by on the road, everybody was honking. People in the big 18-wheeler rigs, because there are a lot of that traffic is there. They were all honking their horns in support. So, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this all turns out. Now, the mayor...
Larry, I think we only have about 10 minutes left. I think Melinda, I know she wants to ask you something.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, like, little details. Like, what was the charge? Was it just trespassing?
Trespassing. And it might be in obstruction, too. It might be in there.
Okay.
Whatever the charges were, it's interesting because it's federal. So he has a court date right now for May 15th. You know, these things are subject to change. But right now, he has a court date for May 15th. And it's in federal court. I was surprised to see it was in federal court. But considering that it's ICE and it's Homeland Security, et cetera, you know, I guess that's the connection. So yes, it was a trespassing charge. It might have been disorderly charge. It might have been obstruction. I'm not all that clear, but I do know because he spoke to it that trespassing is one of the charges.
Let me ask you this. You go ahead, Melinda. Go ahead.
Before, like, what? I mean, I'm just confused why ICE is, you know, what is that? I guess because it's Homeland Security, right? Like,
right.
What is ICE? Is ICE just everything now? Like.
ICE is Trump's personal police now. It's whatever Trump wants it to be. Now, that's not legal. That's not what it's supposed to be, but that is certainly what it's become. Have you seen the video footage of Baraka getting arrested? It's out there. It's online.
Yeah.
Those ICE agents are masked. Have you seen that, Brother Norman? They are masked. Like, if you didn't know it was the United States, you think it was some other country. Because that's what they do in these other countries, particularly in Latin America. You see the security forces, they're masked. They wear these masks that go up to their eyes. Even Torre at one point, wasn't he wearing that? Wasn't that part of his uniform too at one point? Those masks that you pull up from your neck, you pull them up to your face.
All right.
Yeah, that's what these ICE agents are doing. And they really... Now, this is me speaking. They're really becoming a kind of Gestapo, and they're just snatching people off the street. They're not giving people due process. They putting people on planes and sending them to countries where people are being sold as slaves, like Libya. I mean, it's a disgrace. They even admitted the fellow Garcia that they sent out. They said that we made a mistake. He wasn't supposed to be sent. But they are so wicked and hard-hearted that they're not even trying to bring him back, even though everyone, including themselves, know that Garcia was taken illegally, that he had not broken any laws. So this is what, you know, fascism looks like. This is one of the, Hitler had his brown shirts, and now Trump has his, his ICE goons, who are now arresting judges, right? Arresting elected officials. I mean, this is how this thing started, ignoring court orders, ignoring the Supreme Court. It's so bad that even the right-wing Supreme Court Justice Roberts was saying the other day that the executive branch has to respect the judicial branch because Trump is ignoring the court's orders. He's just ignoring them, And we're in a very, this country has always been right-wing. I don't know, a lot of people believe the mythology, about the beacon of democracy and all that. This has always been a right-wing country. And, but now the pretense, the trappings of democracy are falling away. And, we're beginning to see the outline of what dictatorship might look like in the United States.
Larry, we only have about 8 minutes left, and this is Mother's Day, and I basically wanted you to talk about the role of Amiri Baraka, Ras Baraka's mother, and I read Amiri Baraka's books, and at one time Baraka was a woman walking behind you type of guy, and Amiri Baraka was the one that pulled him out of that. I think she was the one that led him to socialism and to Marxism, Leninism. I don't know Mao Zedong's thought, but I know she led him to Marxism, Leninism. Or is that true?
Well, I can't say. I'm not going to. I'm not a historian. I think we got to bring our brother Kamosi Woodard in on this. But I have had conversations with Amina, and, she was telling me, her story in terms of how her ideological development was going forward. It was going forward, and that there were internal struggles within their organization. She and Baraka in the same organization, and it could very well be that she pushed him along. It wouldn't be the first time. Coretta Scott King pushed Dr. King on the question of Vietnam, didn't she? She came out against. That's right. She came out against the war in Vietnam publicly before he did. He pushed her. People have a kind of fairy tale outlook on political movements. Political movements are very dynamic, and very prone to change. And if you don't like political struggle, you shouldn't be in politics, because politics is a life of struggle. And, Amiri Baraka, as long as I've known her, she was always outspoken. And I knew her. I met her at the same time. Around the same time I met Amiri. I met Amiri first, and then I met her shortly thereafter. She was always outspoken, always opinionated, was very intelligent. We're both alumni of the same high school, Arts High School. I did not know she had gone until in recent years that she had gone to Arts High School, which is a school of music and art in Newark, New Jersey. We're both alumni, like, many other folks from Newark, alumni of Arts High School. And, she's always, and she's been a leader in her own right. And especially since the passing of Amiri in 2014. So she is a very intelligent, articulate, strong person, and a leader in her own right, and doesn't have to play second fiddle to anybody. You can see if you've met Ras's father and you met his mother, then you understand how he is who he is today. Because he comes from very opinionated, independent thinking parents. They were both independent thinkers and both radicals. So you can see how Ras is the person that he is today.
Amiri Baraka was one of the biggest influence on my follow. I started following Amiri Baraka 1964, Blues People. I think the first time I saw him in person was in 1967. I was underground, and I came to the Spirit House.
Wow!
And Archie Shepp was backstage. I was underground at that time, and Archie was there, and he was all like sitting on almost like a throne type of thing. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about.
So you met Baraka when he was still Leroy Jones.
He was. I think no. In 60. No, I started reading him in 1964.
Oh, you started reading him in 64. Blues People, right?
Blues People, yeah.
Okay. So what year do you remember meeting him?
67.
Okay, the year of the rebellion. So
in the Spirit.
Right, in the Spirit House.
Let me stop lying. It might have been 68 because he and Reuben Carter went to prison at the same time, I believe.
Right.
At 67, that's when there's a pictures of him. He's bleeding and
right. Well, 67 was the rebellion, and that's when the cops tried to beat him to death during a rebellion. And Amiri Baraka says he almost died in Newark Hospital, in Martland Hospital, which was the hospital in Newark. And, there was that transition period. He was Leroy Jones. And then for a moment, for a brief time, He was
Imamu.
Amir Baraka. Remember, he had become a Sunni Muslim. Ameer, Amir Baraka. But then after he connected with Karanga, he
Swahiliized it.
That's right. So Karanga had his people speaking Swahili, so he was Imamu Amiri Baraka. So Amiri was Swahili for like commander, and Baraka is blessing. And at that time, Imamu was like priest, right? Kind of, like Imam. Islam, Imam.
Imamu, that's the Swahili version of Imam, right?
That's right. But, when he transitioned and he moved from the Qaeda nationalism to Qaeda black nationalism to Marxism, Leninism, he dropped the Imamu. And until he died, he was Amiri Baraka. And if people want to know more about that, they should read this book by Kamosi Woodard, Nation Within a Nation, by Kamosi Woodard.
I have never read. I'm gonna get that book.
You really should.
That book tomorrow because
you really should. You really should.
As you know, I was an Amiri Baraka nut.
You were acolyte. You were acolyte.
I'm looking at the autographed copy of what is Norman Richmond Unity and Struggle 987. I guess that's 207. And then I got his what's his book? I'm looking at Javelins and Jaggers and Javelins essays.
Javelins,
Javelins, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
POP, People's Organization for Progress. We meet every week. And you know where that came from, right? That came from a poem. Now, Baraka didn't tell us to do this, but it did influence us, in terms of making a decision. When Baraka came, Baraka was, I think, the only African-American that spoke at Amilcar Cabral's funeral.
That's right.
When Amilcar Cabral was assassinated by the Portuguese, he had a huge funeral, and they invited Baraka overseas to come speak at the funeral.
He went to Conakry, Guinea.
That's right. When Baraka returned, he wrote a poem called African Revolution. And the word African is spelled with a K, Afrikan, African Revolution. And it's a poem that's so long. It's one of these epic poems. It was so long. He actually, early on, produced the poem as a pamphlet, a little pamphlet, right, that you can read. Now, the poem is in the Leroy Jones Reader. It's a book that was published a couple of years ago called the Leroy Jones Reader. And the African Revolution. And there's a line in that poem where Baraka said, "Black people all over the world meet once a week. Black people all over the world meet once a week." And, I was still kind of young when I first heard that poem. Let me see, I was 18 or 19 when I first heard that poem. But that stuck with me, so when we formed POP in 1982, we decided we were going to meet once a week because, if you're really trying to change something, you got to be consistent, man. It can't be like, a hobby kind of thing. You have to be consistent and apply that constant pressure. So that's why for 43, this August will be the 43rd anniversary of the People's Organization for Progress. We've been meeting once a week since we were founded in 1982.
I guess you also got the discipline. I remember Amiri he would always take notes. Had his pencil,
yes.
not no pencil. He had a pen, and he always took notes. When everybody
he carried a pad, and he always, sometimes if you see him in a kind of informal setting, he would have the pencil or the pen stuck in his afro, because he was ready to take notes, And I was very impressed with him, and he left an indelible mark. You know, to be truthful, when I was in those teenage years, 17, 18, 19, 20, you know, I really wanted to be like him. I kind of modeled myself. I wanted to be intelligent. I wanted to be articulate. You know, I wanted to organize my people. I wanted to fight the oppressor. You know, he was the one. I didn't get to meet Malcolm. I didn't get to meet Dr. King, although I met a lot of the luminaries that were still living of the civil rights movement. So Baraka was like the transmission belt. I couldn't meet Malcolm and King, but their ideas came to me through Amiri Baraka, either directly because he had incorporated those ideas, or indirectly, like the first book I ever bought about or by Dr. Martin Luther King. I purchased it at Amiri Baraka's bookstore, right next to his headquarters. Ikalu Umoja was a bookstore, Nayumba Yaujama, the House of Cooperative Economics. And I bought my first Dr. King book, and I bought my first Malcolm X book there. Malcolm X Speaks. I bought the first Malcolm X book I had was not the autobiography. It was Malcolm X Speaks. You know, I was reading what Malcolm said, not what somebody was saying about Malcolm, you know. And my first Malcolm X album, you know, I bought from his store. And I also bought his album. People don't know, you can go to libraries. Baraka made a number of recordings of his poetry and his plays, you know, on recordings. He had an album called Nation Time. You know, that's one of the most inspiring poems. It's
on
Nation Time.
On Motown Records.
Yes, it's Nation Time. Time to get up. Time to get up. So, and remember, if you saw the movie Eyes on the Prize,
yes, sir.
They go up to Gary, and you see them as they concluded the first day of the Gary convention. Jesse Jackson is speaking, and he's saying, "It's nation time. It's nation time." He got that from Baraka, from Baraka's poem. You know, people think Jesse started that. No, Baraka, that's from his poem. Title is Nation Time. You know, those were the days, brother. But those days.
Let me say this: that Baraka was he met everybody. You saw pictures of him dance with Maya Angelou.
Yes.
He knew James Baldwin. He knew Muhammad Babu from Tanzania.
Yeah.
He had met with Malcolm, Robert Williams, anybody you can name.
He met Castro. You know, he went to Cuba.
He went to Cuba in 59, right.
Right. He went to Cuba when he was still Leroy Jones.
Right.
You know, when he was still Leroy Jones. You know, his radicalization started, like a lot of us, started early. You know, and he just continued to evolve, you know, and you know, he has joined the ancestors, but his son, you know, is carrying on in his stead, and you know, it's in fact, the first time I ever heard this slogan, "Aluta Continua," was at a rally with Amiri Baraka, you know, because he had a lot of contact. Like I said, they invited him to speak at Cabral's funeral. He was in Tanzania. He met Julius Nyerere, you know. But that slogan, you know, "Aluta Continua," you know, which was popularized by Frelimo, right, in Mozambique, right. You know, and in fact, in all the former Portuguese colonies, Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau.
Right.
You know, they use that slogan, "Luta continua," the struggle continues. They used to.
As usual, Larry, we've gone overtime, but
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. But people should keep their eyes on Newark. keep your eyes on Newark, because I think we getting ready to see some kind of upsurge here. I think it's going to be a tight gubernatorial race into June 10th, and then we're going to go into a whole nother phase after that's over. And it's not just the electoral sector we got to look at. People should also keep their eyes, because I don't think we've had a chance to talk about the Martin Luther King political convention. We had the Martin Luther King People's Convention for Justice and Resistance. Maybe we can talk about that on the next go round.
Yes, sir. All right, so we appreciate it, and as usual, you dropped a lot on for people to work on, not just ponder, but to struggle. What are the struggle in terms of what do the Muslims say in terms of struggle? I'm losing my train of thought.
Muslims, I don't know. I don't think I.
No, it's about it's like it's almost like dare to struggle, dare to win, but it's Islamic thing. I'm getting. Okay. I'm an old man now. I'm losing my memory. All right. So,
all right.
Thank you.
You know what Baraka used to say, right? Nothing gets it, but getting it is simple yet complex.
Yeah, well, I remember Amiri Baraka used to say, I remember the last time I saw Baraka, I told him, if we ever fall out, do not write no poem or like he did about Spike Lee. Just shoot me, because he said Spike. He had the thing about Spike Lee's thing, a Spike Lee joint. Yeah, Spike Lee. He says a Spike Lee joint is a Negro reefer. It's
boy,
to get you high.
All right, brother. Y'all take care now.
All right. And we have been speaking with Larry Hamm, and we will be back with Dr. Gerald Horn.